Michael Myers is leaving Dead by Daylight. Now, I just want to start off by saying that I had a completely different video planned, and also it was just really annoying that I was editing my Dead by Daylight tutorial, and the day that I decided to upload it, they decided to announce that Michael is leaving. Now, I just want to say that this really sucks. As a massive horror fan, and also just Michael Myers has been in Dead by Daylight for over 9 years, this really sucks. When I first found out, I was the definition of the crying pointing meme. So it really sucks to see a very big, massive horror IP get stripped away from Dead by Daylight after so many years. And I'm gonna go out and say that this probably mostly has to deal with the Halloween game coming out next year. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. The thing about DBD is that having a competitor is a good thing. But over the last few years, there have been Dead by Daylight competitors, and they do not last. I'd say the first DBD competitor is the Friday the 13th game. Now, I did play this, and it was stupid fun for a little bit, but also the game had a very steady declining rate because it was not very balanced in the slightest. So the game actually just this last year recently shut down. I'd say then the next DBD competitor probably had to be VHS, which I never really played. I saw people play it, and I saw that it just quickly declined in player base very fast. I think because it was mostly just broken more than it was just a unbalanced thing. And then probably I'd say almost the biggest DBD competitor came out, and that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. Now, I played kind of a bit of this game, and it was fun in the beginning. I think it was mostly fun because no one really knew exactly what to do, and then the skill ceiling quickly, increased by a lot, like Connie being able to instantly pick locks, for example. I don't know if she can still do that. I have not played the game in over a year or two, but I was kind of in that competitive zone at the time before I stopped playing for a couple of reasons. One was the massive amount of cheaters in that game, and it seemed like the devs just did not really care. Also, the devs are the biggest problem why Texas Chainsaw Massacre is its downfall. The devs are very ignorant and did not listen to their player base, which ended up having the game fall severely. Also, from what I could find, the devs were also very rude to anyone having valid criticism, which is just not okay. So when I figured out about this, I kept telling everybody that I don't want to play this game because I don't support their devs and how bad they treat their community, because it was just awful. Side note on this, I get that behavior can sometimes, make promises or say that they're listening to the community and they don't, but I've never seen an instance of a behavior dev ever going out of their way to dog on their community. They're a lot more respectful than the Texas Chainsaw devs. So this leads me to my next point, the Halloween game that is coming out. The odds of this actually succeeding are probably very low, because it is the same devs who created Friday the 13th, and Friday the 13th was not a very successful game, in all honesty. So the odds of this new Halloween asymmetrical horror game actually being able to succeed and compete with behavior is just not even comparable. The thing is, a good DBD competitor would be good for DBD, so it would actually lock in and holy crap and make the game good, but it's not gonna happen. And I think this is the sole reason why Michael is leaving, because they pulled him out, so they wouldn't have as much competition with two different Michael Myers. Now, I think this is a very stupid idea and stupid way to go about this. From what I can understand, the same devs that made the Leatherface game, I think were actually considering the idea of pulling Leatherface out of DBD, but they didn't want to do that because they didn't want backlash, which was actually good. Now, because Michael Myers is leaving, the Halloween game is getting extremely review bombed because of this. Not gonna lie, kind of understandable. The way I'm looking at this overarching thing is it seems very stupid to pull the IP out of Dead by Daylight because they want to make a game solely around Michael as asymmetrical horror, and they don't want Dead by Daylight's Michael competing against their Michael, and it just honestly evidently sets them up to fail because of that. I think this is another good point to pivot is I think any license in DBD that doesn't have any stable cosmetics or legacy cosmetics or behavior is basically free will to do what they want with the characters. This, I think, is a very good sign that certain licenses in DBD are probably not safe. One example was Pinhead. Pinhead recently left And Pinhead had 2 cosmetics, and Behavior openly said that he's not going to be able to get any more because that was the only time they could get cosmetics for him. Now, I'm confident that his scenario is a little bit different. I know they're making a Hellraiser game, but I think that's not why he left. I think he left because of some lawsuit issues was going on with Hellraiser. Another license that could end up leaving DBD is probably the Nightmare on Elm Street license. Freddy and Quentin Smith have not received any cosmetics since their release. The only way you can unlock cosmetics is either prestige them, so you get their bloody cosmetics, or Quentin comes with a different outfit if you buy the actual Nightmare on Elm Street DLC pack on the in-game stores. Otherwise, they have never received anything. They've barely even been touched. Freddy's been reworked a couple of times, but it feels like that chapter has almost been completely forgotten about. So, as much as it sucks, I think it's very safe to say that any licensed collaboration with Behavior that doesn't have active updates or active cosmetics or blighted cosmetics, I feel like almost 100% guaranteed that they're on good terms, just means that they're not safe and that they could probably end up leaving. So I wouldn't be surprised in a year or two if Freddy Krueger ended up leaving because I guess the license holders are just probably not in good terms. Now, I get that there's also a possibility that even, like, for example, Springtrap could end up leaving in 2 years' time. But that would probably be for a different reason because there are contracts that Behavior has to sign in order to have them in the game, and from what I understand, they have to renew these contracts in order to keep the characters in the game and keep them updated. And there could just be a possibility down the line where they have too many licenses and they can't upkeep all of them. That's completely possible. Maybe that's what happened to Attack on Titan, because if you guys don't know, Attack on Titan ended up leaving for a little bit, and then it came back. Maybe they just didn't want to upkeep it or something like that. But I'm not too worried. I was very sad and upset when Michael left, you know, considering that he's just been around for a while. But as we've seen, Stranger Things is returned to Dead by Daylight after it left, and it's getting a part 2. So I think it's probably entirely possible that Michael will end up returning into the game at some point. Possibly after the Halloween game will end up failing. Maybe it'll return then. I don't know. But another thing why this isn't as worrisome is Michael has been around for a very, very, very long time. And I feel like most people who have owned the game probably have Michael Myers. So we're probably not going to see a dwindling in Michael Myers for a long time, because probably most people that have bought the game over the last 9 years probably have Michael Myers. The other thing I really want to prove is that why I don't think Michael is just leaving out of the willy-nilly is because there's no way Behavior would have spent all these time and resources on him to rework him completely just to have him leave. This was probably a very unexpected thing that happened, and Behavior was not expecting it to happen. So I just want to pin that theory of like he's leaving because Behavior doesn't want him anymore. It's definitely because somebody is pulling the license. Alright, but other than that, I think that concludes what I wanted to talk about with Michael leaving. So, with all of that being said, I will see you in the next Dead by Daylight video.